The morning sun streamed through the tall glass windows of the studio, casting soft golden stripes across the polished floor. The Today Show team buzzed with the usual excitement they reserved for big-name guests. Reba McEntire, country music royalty, was expected any moment. Producers hurried around, adjusting lights, testing microphones, and straightening cue cards. When Reba finally arrived, she wore her familiar warm smile, dressed in a deep red jacket that matched her signature fiery hair. She greeted the crew kindly, shaking hands and thanking everyone for inviting her. The atmosphere felt easy, smooth, and professional, exactly what the team wanted. But beneath the politeness, something felt slightly off. Reba's assistant whispered to one of the producers, "Please stick to the approved questions." "She's had a long week," the producer nodded, though he already knew the interview would likely drift away from the script. Ratings mattered. The hosts welcomed Reba to the stage, the cameras went live, and the audience clapped with excitement. The first few questions were gentle. Her new album, her tour, her charity work. Reba answered with her usual charm, her voice warm and steady. Then came the shift. One of the hosts leaned forward, eyebrow raised, and said, "Reba, there's been a lot of talk online about tension behind the scenes of your recent project. Some say you walked out on a rehearsal. What really happened?" Reba stiffened. Her smile faded, replaced by a firm, guarded expression. "I thought we agreed not to talk about rumors," she replied calmly. The host shrugged with a grin that looked more like a challenge. "But the public wants clarity. Don't you think it's important to address it?" The studio grew still. Reba folded her hands, eyes narrowing slightly. "Well," she said slowly, "I came here to talk about music, not gossip." A quiet storm began to build in the room. The tension settled like a heavy blanket. The host pushed on, ignoring her discomfort. "Reba, surely you understand that transparency is part of being in the public eye? If there's nothing to hide, why avoid the question?" Reba inhaled deeply, visibly struggling to keep her composure. The crew exchanged uneasy glances behind the cameras, knowing the moment was spiraling fast. This wasn't the interview they had planned. This wasn't the moment they wanted. "I'm not avoiding anything," Reba said firmly. "But I won't feed into stories made up just for attention." The host smiled too sharply. "Well, some people would say walking off set during rehearsal also gets attention." A flicker of frustration finally broke through her controlled expression. "That rehearsal issue was a misunderstanding," she answered, "and it was handled privately. I don't appreciate you twisting it into something it wasn't." The live audience shifted uncomfortably. A few gasped softly. Instead of backing off, the host pressed harder. "But don't you think your fans deserve honesty?" Reba leaned forward, voice lower, steady, sharper. "My fans know who I am. I don't owe explanations for every rumor someone decides to spread." Her assistant visibly tensed at the edge of the stage, ready to intervene if needed. A producer mouthed to the host, "Move on," but the host ignored the signal. "So you're saying every article is lying? Every insider report is fabricated?" Reba's eyes flashed. "I'm saying I won't sit here and let you corner me for the sake of drama." The air crackled with silent electricity. The host tried one more time. "Reba, people just want the truth. And I've given it," she cut in. "Now let's talk about something worth the world's time." A long pause followed. Then, with a deliberate tone, the host asked, "Is that why you walked out on your crew last month?" That was the final blow. Reba's face hardened. The kind of expression that left no doubt. She'd been pushed too far. Reba straightened her jacket, took a slow breath, and looked directly into the camera, not at the host. "I respect my fans. I respect the people who support my work. But I don't have to sit here while someone tries to drag me through the mud for entertainment." The studio fell into complete silence. Even the cameras seemed to hesitate. She turned to the host, her tone icy but controlled. "If you can't interview with integrity, then this conversation is over." Without another word, she unclipped her microphone. The tiny click echoed through the giant studio like a small but powerful thunderclap. Gasps filled the audience. The host's smile evaporated instantly, replaced by shock. Producers scrambled, waving frantically from behind the glass control room, their hands signaling to cut to a commercial, but the cameras were still rolling. Reba pushed her chair back and stood, dignity radiating from every step. Her assistant rushed to her side, whispering, "Are you okay?" Reba nodded, though her jaw was tight. "Thank you," she said softly to the crew members she passed. "Not your fault." The host attempted to salvage the moment. "Reba, wait, maybe we can talk this out." But she didn't stop. The doors of the studio opened, letting in a blast of cool air as she walked through. The audience watched in stunned silence, unsure whether to clap in support or stay frozen in disbelief. The moment she stepped outside, the world erupted. Camera operators from other networks captured her exit. Social media would explode within minutes. Headlines would form before she even reached her car. Inside, the host sat speechless. The control room buzzed with frantic energy. No one had expected the interview to end like this. But Reba, sliding into her waiting vehicle, looked out the window with calm resolve. She hadn't walked away in weakness. She had walked away in strength, and everyone knew it.